For decades, the story of human origins was a straightforward narrative of conquest. The prevailing model held that our ancestors evolved in Africa, moved across the globe, and completely replaced every other archaic hominin they encountered. According to this theory, Homo sapiens won without mixing with other lineages. Proving that theory required a baseline. The completion of the Human Genome Project provided the first full map of our own 3 billion base pairs, giving scientists the reference code needed to start looking for historical discrepancies. Svante Pääbo pioneered a way to look even further back. Through the field of paleogenomics, he developed techniques to extract and sequence degraded DNA from fragmented bones that had been buried for tens of thousands of years. This ancient genetic code revealed a web of intersecting lineages, showing that our family tree is far more interconnected than a simple straight line. The divergence began between 550,000 and 800,000 years ago. At this point in the Pleistocene, a single population in Africa acted as the last common ancestor for both humans and Neanderthals. One portion of that ancestral group migrated north, settling the Ice Age environments of Eurasia, eventually becoming the Neanderthals. The other half remained in Africa. Isolated by geography, they evolved into anatomically modern Homo sapiens. These two branches remained on separate evolutionary paths for hundreds of thousands of years, each adapting to the specific demands of their own continent. Hundreds of thousands of years in the Eurasian cold shaped the Neanderthal body. Natural selection favored traits that helped them conserve heat and process the freezing air of the mammoth steppe. Their fossils show the results of this specialization. Neanderthals developed a distinctive bell-shaped ribcage, a short, heat-conserving torso, and wide noses to warm and humidify the air as they breathed. Their DNA tells the same story of isolation. Neanderthals developed mutations in the NC1R gene that were entirely distinct from those found in humans, genotypes that likely resulted in pale skin and red hair. Simultaneously in Africa, Homo sapiens were developing their own traits. Our ancestors were evolving the taller, leaner frames and cognitive capacities needed to navigate the diverse African landscape. By 100,000 years ago, Earth hosted two distinct human species, each honed by their respective environments into specialists of two very different worlds. Between 70,000 and 100,000 years ago, that isolation ended. Modern humans began their expansion out of Africa, pushing into the territories of their ancient relatives. Moving into Europe and the Middle East, humans entered an already occupied landscape. The genomic record reveals that when these populations met, they interbred. They swapped genetic sequence blocks, permanently weaving Neanderthal code into the human lineage. The interbreeding continued as humans moved further east. In Siberia, scientists discovered a third group through the genetic record, the Denisovans. Migrating humans encountered and interbred with these Denisovans in Asia, a group that had also previously exchanged genetic material with Neanderthals. This suggests that the journey out of Africa was a process of genetic incorporation, where migrating groups absorbed specific segments of the code already present in the landscape. Roughly 30,000 years ago, the physical evidence of Neanderthals and Denisovans vanishes. They disappear from the fossil record entirely. The leaky replacement model confirms that these species survived through us. Because of those ancient encounters, their lineages continued within our own genome. We can see this in the data today. Present-day populations of non-African descent carry between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA. The Denisovan legacy is just as clear. In parts of Oceania and Southeast Asia, modern populations carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA, the highest concentration of this archaic lineage in the world. Every modern human outside of Africa is a biological archive of species that the fossil records suggest are long gone. This ancient DNA is more than just a souvenir. It includes the HLA genes, which play a primary role in regulating the human immune system. Acquiring these archaic immune genes allowed migrating humans to immediately fight off Eurasian pathogens they had never encountered in Africa. These were survival tools, honed by Neanderthals over hundreds of thousands of years. We also inherited traits for skin pigmentation and the ability to synthesize vitamin D in northern latitudes where solar radiation is low. Homo sapiens survived the global expansion by absorbing the biological adaptations of the relatives who had mastered these environments long before we arrived.